This is Meltdown Live, presented by MyBookie.ag. Use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag for double your initial deposit. You sign on to make a deposit, they double it with code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. You are locked in here to Meltdown Live. I am Tim Melton here in the Culver studio. Joining me, as always, would be the Wonder Boy himself, Tyler Lionel Johns. Tyler, it's been a nasty day outside today.
Oh, yeah.
But a beautiful day here in the Culver studio, as always. I appreciate you joining me.
It's always a beautiful day here in the Culver studio. You got Mr. Culver Curdsworth sitting there on his perch. Mm-hmm. He no longer sits on the old sarcophagus. He's moved over to the Marvel side.
Yeah, for a long time, I mean, we joke about it, but when we were getting ready for Nosferatu, there were a lot of stories about sarcophagus. I can't even say it right now because
sarcophagus.
And
then
sarcophagus.
The plural would be sarcophagi.
I've had never any problem in pronouncing it until now. Sarcophagus is the only way I want to say it, because over on TNR, which you can catch daily 9 until noon, over on the next round. Make sure you're subscribed. You would have in stories leading up to Nosferatu that Lance would pronounce it sarcophagus. And now that's the only way I know. My brain, that's the only way it's passed on to me. Yeah. And now I can only say that. So, sarcophagus.
Focus features on the merch store for Nosferatu. You could buy, I think it was like $20,000, but it was a bed in the shape of Count Orlok's sarcophagus.
I think we're both going to have problems talking today. I don't know. We need to not make fun of the way other people talk.
True.
Have you landed on whether Nosferatu or Sinners is the better vampire movie?
I prefer Nosferatu still.
Okay. So you're there with Nosferatu. I'm on the Sinners team, but I think we both can sort of come over to each side and go like, I really like this, and it be the case. But it's a heck of a double feature if you're into vampires for sure. Two very different vampire movies.
Double feature too.
Would be. But you want to talk about style? Those two movies have definitely had it. It's a good time for vampires. And it's a good time for the box office because right now it's on fire. As expected, this is not a shock. Like, we've been talking about this weekend for a long time. Lilo and Stitch, we knew was going to be bigger than expected. Now, you've been very high on it's going to reach the $1 billion club.
Yes.
It's tracking that way right now, that it's going to reach the $1 billion club. Mm-hmm. It is going to have some competition headed its way here, but nothing that's really going to compete in that family-friendly sort of zone for a while.
Exactly.
And it's a 4-quadrant movie. It is a film that plays to younger audiences for sure that want to go out and see Stitch as the big draw. The marketing has been pretty successful in throwing Stitch out there on everything and everywhere. I was in the store Five Below this weekend.
Oh, okay.
And I was in there. I love a certain type of candy. It's called Sour Powers.
Okay.
So it is a brand of sour straws, and I like it way more than any other brand of sour straw. Sour Power. So I was in there like a fiend 5 minutes before they were closing trying to find some Sour Power straws. And there was a woman in there, and she's like, hey, I came here for one of the Stitch plushes, and I can't find it. She seemed to be like a grandmother looking for a Stitch plush, and they were completely sold out. Now, a weekend before, I had taken my daughter in there. This was before the movie opened, and it was just covered in Stitch plushes. And I was like, we're going to get one of these because I'm going to take you to see this movie, and you're going to get this plush. So it's like $5-6. I was an idiot, Tyler. I should have.
You should have bought the whole thing.
I should have bought numerous of them, a number of them, and I would have had, I would have been able to sell them for probably 4 times what they sold for retail. But
could have just parked outside of AMC and sold them there.
Could have done that. Could have gone the eBay route. But either way, I was an idiot because I didn't have that hat on. I was just like, make my daughter happy. And I needed to have my businessman hat on, which is why we keep you around. Because you're a businessman now.
I'm a businessman now.
Best thing I've ever done here. Best.
It was just such a throwaway line when we were recording that commercial. It became the only thing people mentioned about that commercial.
Not the only thing people mentioned, but the number one thing, because a lot of people mentioned that they would crack up that your services were only available in Bibb County.
Bibb County.
But anyway, it was a zany commercial. I really enjoyed it, but we won't get into that whole thing. But that was a lot of fun. That was one of our first works, and it's only gone downhill since then. But we set the bar high. But so this grandmother's there, and she's like, "Yeah, I really wanted to get a Stitch plush. I'd seen them advertised, and I need to get one." And the girl working behind the counter was like, "Yeah, we didn't really get any of those." And I'm like, "That's not true." I'm there swiping in the self-checkout at 9:00 on a Sunday night, my Sour Powers, and I'm like, "That's not the case." There was definitely Stitch plushes here. I saw them. So anyway, in the parking lot, I was like, "Look, lady, you want a Stitch plush?" But anyway, I didn't have any to sell her, but I was like, they used to have them, but they don't have them. Exactly.
Just Stitch plushes.
This is how Child's Play started. It's like, "Oh, you really want a good guy doll? Come over here, lady. I got you one." So anyway, point is, Lilo and Stitch dominated this weekend, as expected. Mission Impossible also set a franchise record for its opening. However, there's some numbers to crunch here with Mission Impossible. Is it a total win? Debatable, because the movie cost $400 million to make.
Yeah.
Like every time they thought, okay, this is our production budget, they'd go, we need more. So will it end up making a profit? I don't think so, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get into the numbers here. Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible teamed up for a historic Memorial Day box office weekend. The live-action version of Lilo and Stitch earned $145.5 million in North American theaters, according to studio estimates. The second biggest domestic opening of the year behind. Do you remember?
What was it?
A Minecraft movie. Your favorite movie of the year.
Oh, yeah, such a great movie.
This is second only behind a Minecraft movie for opening weekend. The movie is a remake of the 2002 original's story of a six-legged alien and a Hawaiian girl that is now second only to the $185 million opening of The Lion King back in 2019 when it comes to the Disney live-action reimaginings. There are some people who have had frustrations that this Lilo and Stitch reimagining doesn't necessarily follow beat for beat the 2002 original animated movies. Was that a problem for you?
Yes and no. There were some pacing issues in the first act, in particular. They don't include Captain Gantu from the original movie, and due to that, you have to shift some pieces around, and it kind of feels rushed in those parts of the story. And I also think that they modernized it in a way. There's one scene where I don't know if this is just anti-bullying or just due to what happens in the scene, but in the original movie, at like the open of the movie, first little scene on Earth where Lilo is going to her hula class, she gets in a fight. She beats up this girl named Myrtle. Now, in the live action, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, here we go. Myrtle's about to get rocked. And it was just a little shove.
Oh.
Just like, oh, man. Gosh. Myrtle got off scot-free in the live-action version.
Guess they wanted to keep it PG, I guess.
I guess so. And Stitch also doesn't have his two laser blasters when he runs into the frog for the first time, which if I was a rage bait YouTuber, I could make a few videos on that. But
well, we may go that route at some point. But no, today we're going to celebrate because, it's a good thing that the movies are not dead, right? Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise has been credited with saving the movies once already with Top Gun Maverick. He kind of can take credit again with this Mission Impossible movie doing as well as it did to help contribute, but really the front runner here, Lilo and Stitch, by a landslide there. This is the most impressive stat I saw. So, once again, Lilo and Stitch earned roughly $146 million this weekend. Mm-hmm. All of Memorial Day last weekend, you combine all of the films, $132 million.
Yeah.
And that's
was there a family movie last Memorial Day weekend? Because I remember the two big releases being Fall Guy and Furiosa.
I don't know. I don't remember. If there was, it was something that held over. It was something that had already been out, but
Maybe
it definitely
a
didn't
Kung Fu
open
Panda
up.
or something.
Maybe, but it would have had to have held for a long time there. So I don't know, but I know that just Lilo and Stitch this year made more than all of those other movies combined last year, which I found to be very intriguing. Lilo and Stitch also surpassed Top Gun Maverick as the biggest domestic Memorial Day weekend earner ever. Global estimates put it past $300 million. And speaking of Tom Cruise, he's just issued a statement about this past weekend. Tom Cruise said, quote, "This weekend was one for the history books. Congratulations and thank you to every filmmaker, every artist, every crew member, and every single person who works at the studios, to every theater and every employee who helps bring these stories to audiences. Thank you. To everyone that works at Paramount Pictures and Skydance, thank you for your many years of partnership and unwavering support. And most of all, thank you to audiences everywhere for whom we all serve and for whom we all love to entertain. Sincerely, Tom." Okay, couple things.
So, I have been a notorious Tom Cruise hater throughout my life. But his promotion for the Mission Impossible movies and also this clip I saw earlier today, I'm not sure if it was leaked recently or if it had been out, but it was him yelling on the set of Dead Reckoning. You've heard that clip, correct?
That is, I have heard that clip, yes.
Okay. All of that just makes me like the guy more. He just seems to be a fan of the theatrical experience, and a fan of the industry and wanting it to stay alive.
Let me try to make this clear when it comes to Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You don't get that big pimp chain from Scientology without being a little nuts.
Tom Cruise is nuts. Tom Cruise is eccentric, he's egotistical, and he's wild, and he's got a hero complex that makes him want to save everything and everyone. With that being said, I've always been under the philosophy of being an NBA basketball fan that you need one crazy person on your team to have an elite championship level caliber team. You need one person who's ready to throw down at any point. You need one person who's going to get a little bit feisty. You need one person who's going to be throwing some elbows and getting jaw-jacking with the refs. Okay? Draymond Green is a great example of that with the Golden State Warriors, right? If you've watched their run and what they've accomplished over the past decade. Every team needs a crazy person. Movies need a crazy person right now, fighting on behalf of movies. Tom Cruise is that. Tom Cruise is the crazy person that's fighting on behalf of the better theatrical experience for everyone involved. So, where in the mid-2000s, Tom Cruise was literally off his rocker, jumping on couches and arguing with Matt Lauer about Ritalin being a street drug and all of that stuff, this version of Tom Cruise that's almost singularly obsessed with saving movies. You've heard the line, "Unleash the Kraken," right?
Yeah.
We're unleashing Tom Cruise on making sure that movies stick around. And I'm all for it. I'm with you. Let him be crazy, as long as he's fighting for the better good of us being able to go to the theater still. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Tom Cruise versus theaters dying. Which one's going to win? It's going to be one or the other. And this weekend, Tom Cruise landed a few punches, and I'm happy about that. So, once again, you don't have to sign off on everything that Tom Cruise has chosen to do throughout the course of his life, especially in his personal life and some of the decisions. But I am all on board for Tom Cruise, movie star, save the industry type banter. So thank you, Tom Cruise, for continuing to fight the good fight, even though, like Tyler, I've never been a massive Tom Cruise fanboy, but I'm becoming a bigger fan because he cares about the industry.
I mean, like, I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across that clip I told you about, and it's just funny because I didn't hear an ounce of ego in that statement where he's yelling at his crew to follow safety protocols. It's like you said, I think, where it's a hero complex and he knows he's saving the whole industry and he's talking to producers and executives and yada, 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 insurance companies. But I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take
we
it.
benefit and we don't have to deal with him. Now, if we had to work with him, we probably would be like everyone else in his life and being like, I don't know if we can take much more of this.
Right.
But we don't have to work. We just have to see the results of his work. And Tom Cruise rarely loses. Betting against Tom Cruise is a bad bet. Betting against someone like James Cameron is a bad bet. Betting against these guys who have been at the top of the mountain in Hollywood and care very much about that mountain staying intact, like those are the guys right now that we're relying on to save the industry. It's like the Avengers of Hollywood right now, and Tom Cruise is in that group. Christopher Nolan is in that group.
I fully support that group. There are so many jobs, aside from the entertainment aspect of it, there are so many jobs at stake when we're talking about the potential of the theaters dying and the movie industry just sort of slowing down. So,
and that's not even all of these other things, right? We're still surviving the last threat to movies, which is COVID, really.
Right.
The next threat, it's already here, it's at our doorstep, is AI, in that it is producing stuff that is getting really difficult to tell what's real and what's not.
I saw an AI movie trailer the other day, and the prompt that was given to make the movie trailer was to make an AI movie trailer where the characters in it know they're in an AI movie trailer and they're begging to be let out.
And it looked good, didn't it?
It did.
What's the future of the industry if the studios no longer need actors? They no longer need camera people. They no longer need lighting specialists. They no longer need makeup, costume design. I mean, the whole industry is under attack from being able to be generated in an automatic way that the turnover time is nothing.
Did those protections for extras get signed as part of the SAG-AFTRA SAG strike?
I don't know, but when is the next strike? Because that's when the landscape changes. I mean, when does that contract fall through? You know, when does the deal end? And what loopholes are already in the deal that we don't know about? Because we're about to be in an onslaught of AI changing the entire entertainment landscape. Everybody knows it that is keeping up with this, but it is fascinating. Like, at what point will mainstream television commercials all be AI and no one will care? Because I think it's going to be one of those things where
I think advertisers are already mixing in AI. I mean, Netflix announced that a lot of their ads starting next year would be generative AI.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they're already announcing that they're going to do it, they're already doing it.
But I guess my thing is, right now it's a little bit of a talking point, but pretty soon it's just going to be a flood of it to where the outrage isn't going to be able to exist because you don't know who to target the outrage at because everyone's going to be doing it. So it's going to be one of those things where it's just like, this is where it's commonplace now. And is the public just going to be cool with it? Do they care? Does the public care? Because all it takes is one AI superstar musician or one AI superstar movie star, or it takes something that people are like, that's really good and I like that, to not care about the moral complexity of the human element of what it is that's being done. Me and you.
Funny thing is, there's already AI musicians out there doing well.
It just hasn't hit the mainstream yet.
There was an AI rapper that was about to break through, and then they got canceled. Oddly, I didn't know that could happen if you're not even a real person. But since then, there's been a rise of AI music featuring just like cartoon characters and stuff. People will write the lyrics and just record a voice and then filter it into like, Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob's voice, and then release these songs on Spotify and make money.
Yeah.
It's already here.
It's already here, but it hasn't hit that point where it's eviscerated the entire ecosystem.
That's true.
But it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what that future looks like, but it's scary. Because literally every story we've ever been told about robot overlords does not end well for us puny humans. So anyway, is this the last great Memorial Day weekend for the box office history? with human elements? Potentially. I mean, the entire industry is going to be turned upside down. So anyway, I'm glad that things are going well right now. Mission Impossible ended up bringing in a franchise record $63 million this weekend.
Which was about AI.
That is also correct.
Yeah.
Biggest threat to existence. And it ended up out-earning Mission Impossible Fallout, which opened basically to $61 million back in 2018. And as we've mentioned, Cruise has just been everywhere promoting this movie. I mean, I get fed some piece of Tom Cruise out talking about this movie. His team, the group that's booked him to go on all these different platforms, Pat McAfee's show, like he's crossing over into very mainstream territory. I think it really added to the success of this movie, and I think the movie is good. Is it great? No, it's not a great movie. It's got great moments, but it's not a great movie. It is too long. I am someone who likes excess in a movie, but this movie needed 15, 20 minutes less.
Yeah, I could have done without the 45-minute recap of the entire Mission Impossible franchise, considering I had already been on that mission and completed it.
I'm watching it going, this is really good for general audiences who haven't maybe thought about Mission Impossible. It's not good for people like us that like kind of know the beats of the series. And it also isn't good like long-term on a rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, if you plan on watching the whole series, you're going to be really like, oh, okay, we're going through all the things that I did. Yeah, so like you said, I don't know how well it will hold up on like the physical media box set collection. Let me ask you this, without getting into spoiler territory, do you think this is going to be the last Mission Impossible movie? I'm going to say,
I didn't get that feeling. It just feels like the movie kind of ends.
Okay, so you didn't get the feeling that they put
I didn't
a
get
bow
a feeling
on
of
this.
closure.
Because they kind of like tiptoed around whether or not this is the last one, right? Mm-hmm. Tom Cruise gets asked about it, and he's always like, well, it is the final reckoning. And it's like, well, that's not an answer. So, it's like, is this the last one? It's like, well, it is the final reckoning. I don't know. I mean, that's a great publicist, like, telling you what to say answer. But anyway, the movie is not going to be super profitable, if it is profitable, because it had such a huge budget. F1 coming out this summer, huge budget, but probably going to be really fun and really good. And adrenaline rush, a lot like this one was an adrenaline rush. It's kind of led me into where we're going to go next, which is kind of talking about the entire top 10 of this weekend. But Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible are leaps and bounds above everything else. I will say I think Final Destination Bloodlines in the number 3 spot held really well. And it dropped 62.5%. It made nearly $20 million. And it was another, I think, successful weekend for Warner Brothers there. Thunderbolts comes in, 9.1 million. Sinners at 8.6 million. Final Destination Bloodlines and Sinners, out of those two, which one was the more fun experience for you at the movies this year? Because they're both really, really fun times and really good horror movies. And I'm just curious, like, we all know Sinners is the better movie.
Yes.
But which one did you have personally more fun in, Sinners or Final Destination Bloodlines?
I think I had more fun in Final Destination because with that, it was more of a popcorn movie, a popcorn horror, where you're just leaning back and watching crazy stuff happen on screen.
Crazy stuff, yeah.
But with Sinners, I am sitting there, just like this, just studying every frame and just trying to like actively think about it the whole time. So if I had to choose one again for just like being a good time, I would go with Final Destination.
Sinners was on my most anticipated list of 2025. So I was already hyped for it. Mm-hmm. And I had been talking about it for months I've just got to make it to Sinners. Everything else is garbage. Oh my gosh, what's happening to theaters? They're killing the thing I love, and Sinners, I got to get there. And it delivered. And I was so happy about that. Final Destination Bloodlines, I had almost no interest in until about a week a week and a half before when I started hearing all this buzz, and I'm like, am I falling into a trap, or is this actually going to be good?
Yeah, I didn't even believe the hype at first.
Yeah.
Like stop.
And it made it that much better because it's a really good movie. At the end of this year, if you tell me Final Destination Bloodlines is the most surprising movie of the year for just how much I enjoyed it, I won't be shocked because my bar was low on that movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm still thinking about it a little bit every day. Like, I had so much fun in that movie. So, big shout out to the team at Final Destination Bloodlines. I promise you this, that's not the last Final Destination movie. This one's
No.
This one's made a lot of money so far, and the fact that this movie is going to end up making over $200 million
That's insane.
is really
A
impressive.
Final Destination movie.
Yeah. It's already made its budget back and is now in the profitable territory, and so it's doing great. So good job to Final Destination Bloodlines. It's worth it. And I'm really, really proud to say that that's a fun time. So Thunderbolts there at the number 4 spot, Sinners at the number 5 spot. I really thought this weekend was the one where Sinners would overtake Thunderbolts. Did not happen, but it was still very close. And once again, Sinners 2 weeks older than Thunderbolts. So really impressive showing from Sinners. Warner Brothers.
And Thunderbolts had about 500 more theaters.
That is also correct. Yeah. Yeah, that is also correct. So once again, Sinners, really great movie, and I'm really excited about it being my favorite movie of the year so far. The Last Rodeo in the 6th spot. This is kind of the big surprise of the group here because everything else we've kind of talked about and heard about. Do you know what The Last Rodeo is?
It's an Angel Studios movie starring Neil McDonough, so I don't believe the numbers.
You don't believe the numbers?
Nope. 100% that a lot of those seats were empty as part of the pay it forward, not scam. I wouldn't call them a scam. The pay it forward scheme.
Yeah.
The plan.
Yeah. It's kind of smart.
I mean, yes, but also like
it's got an asterisk next to it, unlike
it's
Thunderbolts.
It's like buying YouTube views. It's for losers. Like you do that to pretend you're successful, but no one in their right mind is saying that The Last Rodeo is competing with any mainstream movie. Unless you are sipping the Kool-Aid that they're pouring at Angel Studios.
I love it. Now that we've got that off the table, let's go to Friendship at the number 7 spot. This is a movie that I feel bad. I click on every out of the theater reaction that Tyler does. I have not clicked on the last 2. I've had a crazy weekend. So I don't know what you think of Friendship truly, other than you kind of told me you would recommend me see it. Did it live up to your sky-high expectations? Because you have been talking about this movie for weeks and weeks and weeks. For those that don't know, what is it, and do you recommend it?
So, Friendship is a movie about this boring suburban dad. He goes through his humdrum life, and then a new neighbor moves in down the street. And this new neighbor is just cool in every way, played by Paul Rudd. And, our main character, played by Tim Robinson, gets a little excited every time he sees him, and a little obsessed with him. And I think this is definitely worth a watch if you like the sort of wacky, surreal comedy that you would see in something like The Cable Guy. I think that's a good comparison for this movie.
Okay. All right.
Because it's almost like watching The Cable Guy from Jim Carrey's character's perspective.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's somewhat dark, but it is hilarious and wacky and stupid the whole way through.
So am I correct? I mean, I'm just piecing it together here. But Tim Robinson is the Jim Carrey part?
I don't want to spoil nothing.
I can tell.
But, new guy moves in down the street.
Okay,
and he's just like, man, this guy's in a band.
Got it.
Does the weather.
That's interesting. It's a weird inverse from what I sort of expected. That's interesting. Okay, well, Friendship there at the number 7 spot. That's all I need to hear. But
yeah, I don't want to give anything else away. But if you've ever seen a Tim Robinson bit from I Think You Should Leave and you liked it, go watch this movie because I think it's the best that one of those characters has ever worked. But if that kind of humor is not for you, then I don't think this movie is for you. But if you like that kind of humor, then definitely go see this.
Okay. Well, we will see how this thing holds because it had been performing bonkers in the limited release.
Mm-hmm.
It's per theater average. It's per screen. I mean, it was selling out everywhere it was. It expands to now it expanded 995 theaters extra compared to what it was. And so it ended up in a little bit over 1,000 theaters. And yeah, it grew by 229% because now people can actually get a chance to go buy a ticket to this. But I still expected it to do just a little bit better than what it did at the 4.5 million there in the number 7 spot. But it is a small movie. It's a
smaller movie, and this
Totally.
is also not one that people would be as inclined to see opening weekend as opposed to Mission Impossible Lilo Stitch.
Oh, sure. I just thought it'd make more than the last rodeo, to be honest.
Well, yeah, like I said, I don't buy their numbers.
Right. At number 8, very impressive. 8 weeks it's been in the top 10. We've talked about it every week, and that is a Minecraft movie. It still has the biggest opening of the year, and it is still the highest grossing movie of the year. So a Minecraft movie there. Will it reach $1 billion? Let's take a look at where it's at here in its global tally.
I've got for domestic 420.
Worldwide 940.
Ooh, so close.
So
Potential, but most likely not.
I don't know. It's going to take an extra push to try to get it to that $1 billion club, so we'll see, but pretty much right there. The Accountant 2, doing still pretty well there in the top 10. It's been out for 5 weeks, put out by Amazon MGM Studios, and this is a movie that Tyler has said is a pretty good time and will do even better there in the digital formats. And Hurry Up Tomorrow in the 10th spot. This movie made less than $1 million. It's made $4.7 million total in its entire run in the U.S. It dropped near 80% weekend over weekend. Worldwide, it's made $5.4 million. This has not been a hit by any means, but what did you think of this movie starring The Weeknd, and should The Weeknd give up his acting career altogether?
He should, and he should give up writing movies as well, because he wrote this one too. This was the most pretentious, incoherent mess of a movie I've ever had the displeasure of watching.
Ever.
I mean, it is... I mean, there's worse movies out there, yeah, but this just makes no sense. This is... Watch The Weeknd have his head, all the way up there for 2 hours straight. Like, nothing in this movie works. The plot is just paper thin, and then the camera work, they choose to spend half the movie just spinning around whoever the subject of the frame is, and it's not a good look. It's not an interesting look, but somebody on set had to think it was because they repeat this shot over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And, Abel is just not a good actor either. Barry Keoghan's kind of there as the wild Irish guy, so, just fine. And Jenna Ortega is there as a mentally unstable girl, so, another just fine performance. But
So this is not as good as Smile 2, because they're very similar in their promotional aspects.
not even close.
Very similar in their promotional aspects. Struggling musician, can't really wrap their head around reality, struggling to sleep, all this stuff. But Smile 2, if you're looking for this type of jam, the much more rewarding experience.
Absolutely. Smile 2 has a story. The only thing that this movie has going for it is having The Weeknd's music in it. But you don't get to hear a whole lot from the album, and you get to hear maybe 3 or 4 songs from it. But, it's just not worth a watch in any way.
If you care about your smile on the weekend, Alabama Dental's open on Saturdays. I don't know if you're aware of this, but it works perfect, this transition, over to talking about the team that I love there at Alabama Dental Associates, located on Grants Mill Road. That's Dr. Jeff, Dr. Brian, and Dr. Nolan, providing you all those different services when it comes to staying on top of your dental health. Maybe you have that little moment where you're like eating at a restaurant and then you're like, oh, something ain't right. Get it checked out at Alabama Dental before it becomes a bigger issue. You're going to thank me. You're going to write me a note like Raul did and say, look, I really appreciate you, Tim, because you took care of me, by recommending Alabama Dental Associates. They are the best at what they do. If you're new in town, need to make sure you have a dentist on standby. Reach out and try Alabama Dental for yourself. You can call them at 205-956-8977 or visit alabamadental.com, where they look forward to seeing you. Okay, we've talked about the top 10. We've gotten our sort of thoughts and reviews here. A big movie opens up this week that Tyler has already seen and really likes, called Bring Her Back. I know that you're still very high on this movie, and it is something that you would recommend to the horror junkies, but maybe not those who just want to find something peaceful and relaxing to go see this weekend at the theaters.
Yeah, if you're more used to the just sort of like low-budget streaming slashers, then Bring Her Back's not necessarily for you. But if you want something that just truly disturbs you, go see Bring Her Back, because it is absolutely wild. I was squirming around in my seat, and I don't think that a lot of the shots in this movie will be forgotten anytime soon.
I'm going to have to check it out. I really am. I want to give a programming note on what's going on the rest of the week. So tomorrow we have been gifted a mystery donation box from the Bussies, including Hunter Bussey, who's made this happen. It's a nice note here for Tim, Tyler, and EG's Eyes Only. With love, Hunter Bussey. EG is on assignment until Thursday, so she will not be a part of this lovely box, but we will tomorrow on the show. So if you want to know what's in here, we do too. It should be very exciting, and I love the sticker here, Bubba on the Lake. Go support those.
That's a sweet sticker, too.
Go support those podcasts. Make sure you give those thumbs up there to a friendly force here in town, and Bill Bubba Bussey, and go support some Bubba on the Lake. But they are supporting us here with the mystery box. What is in this? I don't know. Is it fishing pole, tackle box? I have no idea. I think it's some movies, and we're going to be geeking out over those tomorrow on the show, so make sure you are here for that. 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern.
I was told there were some bangers and some funny picks, nice callbacks. You know, I haven't been told anything specific.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's just how the box was pitched to me.
That's good to know. I've been told Blu-rays are popular in there, so I'm like, thinking there's going to be some real high-quality stuff, so that's good. We'll also have a second and Charles mystery box haul that will be shared with you on Thursday, so make sure you're tuned in for that. So should have mystery box content here. If you love that kind of stuff, this is your week. It's a little bit of a short week for us, and we're going to make sure that we pull a lot of movies for the remainder of the week, so you're not going to want to miss any of that. With all that being said, there's something I have been dying to hear ever since last week, and now's the final payoff to be able to get there, which is how would Tyler rank the Mission Impossible series? He's seen all 8 movies now. How would he rank them from worst to best? How would you rank them from worst to best? Maybe you've been revisiting them yourself. Maybe you are a diehard fan that has seen all of them many times. Maybe I own the first 5 on Blu-ray in a box set and decided that I was not going to buy 6, 7, and 8 until I got like a complete 4K set.
Oh, there you go.
But I've got 1 through 5 on Blu-ray, and I have some opinions as well about where this list may be going. So I have no idea what your full direction is here on where you're going with Mission Impossible, but we're going to start off with number 8 spot, unless you want to talk a little bit more about how you approached your mission, whether you choose to accept it.
So I did accept the mission, and I accomplished the mission. I was like Tom Cruise at the end of Ghost Protocol, smashing the button on the suitcase. Mission accomplished. I got it done. I watched every Mission Impossible movie in probably 3 or 4 days. I don't know. It was
too much.
It was way too much Mission Impossible and not enough time. Starting out, so I formed this list based on what it is like going through the series from start to finish, and where the missteps were, where the series really kicks off, what really heats it up, and not just in a vacuum, which is the best movie in the series.
Okay. I'm ready to get started.
So, starting off this list as the worst Mission Impossible movie, Mission Impossible 2.
Yes, 100%. There are people who love this movie.
Yes, and I'm a big John Woo fan. I love The Killer. I think it's one of the best action movies just all time. I love Face Off as well. I think that John Woo style is what gave us stuff like John Wick, and both Face Off and John Wick are up on the big board there. So we both love those kinds of movies. It doesn't work for Mission Impossible.
The worst part about Mission Impossible 2 is that it is the movie that has aged the worst.
Oh yeah, this one should have been called Mission Impossible Extreme, but like starting with an X. You know
Mission
what I mean?
Impossible 2000. I'm surprised they didn't call it that.
Absolutely.
Like, that's exactly what they should have called it, because it feels like Mission Impossible 2000.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is like rock climbing for half the movie for some reason. There's exploding sunglasses, and I don't think you ever see like the whatever Ethan gets his mission from explode ever again. They all just kind of smoke up. But in that one, it's like, nah, if you don't get rid of this in 5 seconds, your head blows up.
A shout out to Thandie Newton, though, who is the main female in this movie. I thought she was fantastic in Westworld, and I was happy to see her in Mission Impossible 2 back in the day, but I think it is the weakest of the bunch, and it is the most, like, voice guy over a trailer type movie ever.
In a world. Yeah.
Where one agent.
One lone wolf agent.
Exactly. So it's just, it doesn't feel like they had any idea of what direction this thing was going to be going. No. And Mission Impossible 2 is this weird outlier of a film that feels like...
Also, Tom Cruise has like really long hair in that.
Yes.
I don't know why it's that long.
I legitimately think you could take Mission Impossible 2 just out of the bunch and you wouldn't miss a beat. But
no, you wouldn't.
That's my opinion. Okay, great start here. Once again, this is your list. Everybody has a different one, but so far we're in 100% agreement. Where are we going next?
This was where it might get a little controversial, but I'm going with the OG.
Yeah. I see this. So far we're 100%.
Okay. I think it's just cheesy and over the top. And the plot is just unnecessarily convoluted. Like, I had trouble following this one when I was watching it the other week. That being said, there are some good moments. I like Emilio Estevez's character for the brief moments you get to see him. Best line of the movie, "Hasta lasagna, don't get any on ya."
You know, this movie came out in 1996.
Yes.
And... a lot of the visual effects, groundbreaking for 1996, don't hold up near as well today, but still like have an emotional punch to them. Yeah. I'll give them that. Like, there's a lot of set pieces, a lot of stuff going on, has some emotional punches to it. You do when you get in the I think the best part of the movie is the first 5 minutes of like you're meeting the team, you're seeing all the moving around, you're all in, and then all of a sudden, the double cross of the century, and you got to start picking up the pieces of what in the world's going on. I would have liked more time with that team, though.
Absolutely. I thought that was like a really strong opening for
really
that movie.
Strong, yeah.
And then the movie just kind of dips.
It does. And then we get Mission Impossible 2 right after that. So, look, I'm in agreement with you. Mission Impossible here. John Voight in this movie playing
Jim something.
Yeah, the bad guy who's kind of got a redemption arc a little bit through the series. We'll get into maybe more of that later. But, Mission Impossible. They're in 1996. Came out in May of that year. A majority of these movies came out in the month of May, and that's the one that kicked it all off. So a lot of credit there to director Brian De Palma for getting it off the ground. But once again, still very unsure of where it was going. And all these years later, 30 years later, we're still talking about this franchise, and we're still talking about the movie that started it all there at the number 7 spot. Where are we going next?
Next, going with a more recent entry. Formerly known as Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It's Dead Reckoning. This one just kind of felt like a letdown when I watched it the other week. I I don't like the villain, Gabriel.
Same.
And it just felt very lackluster. That's the best way I can put it. It's just a lackluster movie, and you don't really get these breathtaking action sequences that you become accustomed to.
So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Dead Reckoning and The Final Reckoning were shot sort of immediately back-to-back, maybe? Maybe
I didn't know
immediately back-to-back? I don't know. It's the hair thing for Tom Cruise that's making me doubt myself. But this movie, Tom Cruise looks older in this movie than he does in the most recent one.
I agree. Yeah.
And I can't wrap my head around how that's possible, other than the fact that Hollywood has a way of making you believe things and seeing things. But I don't know. This is the oldest Tom Cruise has ever looked in a Mission Impossible movie. It's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. And it was not met with the acclaim that they were used to, because for a while there, they had gotten on this run where like everyone topped the other and people were all on board. And this was the first one that sort of hit with a whimper. One of the main reasons is because it was right before Barbenheimer, where people were making up their mind. It was this sort of pop culture sensation. Am I going to go see Barbie, or am I going to go see Oppenheimer, or am I going to see both? And if I see both, which one am I going to see first? Which one am I going to see second? It became sort of the song of the summer. Oh, by the way, the new Mission Impossible movie opened up a week beforehand and got absolutely trounced. It's very similar to what I felt with Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was supposed to be the big ticket in 1993, summer of 93, and it got trounced by Jurassic Park. And I feel like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning got trounced by Barbenheimer. But also, it wasn't that great. Like, it was this mixture of the word of mouth on it was sort of weak, and there was this big, huge event that had tons of word of mouth where it was pick a lane. So anyway, I didn't love this movie either, and so far we're batting 1,000.
Yep. Just felt like a slog to get through. It just felt like a continuous series of, I bet you didn't see that coming. Aha, sick reveal, and it just got old watching it.
And this big set piece in this is there's the motorcycle jump.
Yeah.
And there's also the train sequence.
Yeah.
The motorcycle jump was all in the trailers. So it's like there was nothing left to see from that, it felt like, in the movie, because it was all of the marketing. The train sequence was just like, okay, the fact that you've called this part 1, it kills the stakes.
Yep.
It was, you remember Horizon? When it was like Horizon Chapter 1 or whatever?
Yeah.
Anytime you go Horizon Part 1, Horizon Chapter 1, anytime you go chapters, parts, you take a big gamble of people going like, oh, so I got enough time to where since I'm not going to get the whole story anyway, I'll just watch this one on streaming, and then I'll watch the next one in the theaters, or I'll watch them all both at the same time, or I'll wait for the whole thing to be complete.
Yeah. People are tired of studios taking one book or one story.
Yeah.
And spreading it out over multiple movies. You see that with the Hobbit trilogy. No one likes that nearly as much as Lord of the Rings. We saw that with the last Harry Potter movie. Deathly Hallows became Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. I think that's what started the trend. And I think Mockingjay in the Hunger Games franchise really suffered from this.
There's one exception to this rule that recently broke out of this rule, and that is Wicked. Because Wicked crushed, but they didn't call it Wicked Part 1. They didn't call it Wicked Act 1. They called it Wicked, smartly. Yeah. And people didn't really know they weren't getting a full experience. Most of the audience didn't know they were walking in and not getting the second act of the story. So that's why they changed it from Wicked Part 2 to Wicked for Good. Because they feel like, hey, everybody, you love the first one, come in and get the rest of the story there. But there's a reason they changed the name from Dead Reckoning Part 1 to just Dead Reckoning, and I think it was the right move, but it was a misfire, and the big scope, scale story they were trying to tell wasn't resonating with people because it wasn't nearly as smart as some of the other ones of just basically giving you the bare bones of what you wanted. It tried to be maybe a little bit too grandiose.
Yep. Hunter Bussey says Mission Impossible movies work better with a definite ending. These last two being a Part 1, Part 2 didn't feel right. And that's why my next entry on the list is Final Reckoning. As much as we have praised this movie, it does suffer from being a bit bloated and overall just not as much of a tight, action-packed thrill ride as you're used to from the franchise. And that being said, Gabriel being the villain, he's in this one too, and I still don't like him as the villain.
A lot of people argue that he's not really the villain. He's just sort of like a tool used by the main villain, which is sort of disembodied.
He is the
I agree.
He is the main force against our protagonist.
I agree. Hands up. I agree. I just find that to be such a cheap excuse. He's a lame ass villain. I mean,
Yes.
and the reason you root against him is because of how much he bores you. I mean, it's like, I hate to say it, but
I don't feel threatened by his presence in any way.
there are so many stronger villain performances in this series, and it's kind of a letdown to get this Wish version of, you know, the Fantasy Island dude. Anyway, let's move on now, if we can, because we've talked a lot about Final Reckoning, and we also can't get into full spoilers yet. So let's go ahead and move on to what would be in the top tier. We've made it halfway through. These are now the ones that are in the top half, in your opinion. Where are we going for the number 4 spot?
For this one, now, remember at the beginning when I said, when you're watching these all the way through, you got to consider just what each movie is in the larger scale of things. And for that, I'm going with the movie that was referenced a lot by Final Reckoning, and that's Mission Impossible 3. I know you wanted this to be higher. And I'd be okay with it being higher, honestly.
It's the first time we disagree.
I mean, I could honestly flip this with my number 3 spot and be perfectly fine with it.
Well, it's your list, and you've obviously toyed with, you know, where everything is, and I understand the nice sentiments that you're giving there of, you know, on any given day, 4 and 3 can swap. But man, I just have a soft spot in my heart for Mission Impossible 3.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is a fantastic villain.
The best. I think the best villain in the whole series. That's my opinion. It's just an opinion.
Yeah. Top 2, top 3 for me.
His monologues, his presence, his intimidation, his back and forth with Cruise. I mean,
When they're on the plane and he's kidnapped and Tom Cruise is like trying to get the information out of him, that scene is just, oh my gosh. Because you've got Philip Seymour Hoffman just calmly saying like, do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? And going into that whole spiel. And then Tom Cruise just snapping and, you know, threatening to kill Philip Seymour Hoffman. And it's just crazy because you don't see any other villain get under Ethan Hunt's skin like that. But Philip Seymour Hoffman just staying like calm, cool, collected, but also incredibly menacing.
the first 5 minutes of this movie,
Oh, yeah.
where you're just like on the edge of your seat with their back and forth. And then the shot into the opening credit. I mean, come
As
on.
we're talking about it, I made a mistake. This needs to be higher on the list.
No, you got it at number 4. We're talking about it now. That you had your mission. You chose to accept it. This is where we're at. So we're going to leave this here, but I'm going to make the pitch for this is the first time that we see Ethan Hunt as an actual character that has a life.
Yeah.
It's the first time we see Ethan Hunt humanized.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, are there a lot of J.J. Abrams lens flares in this? 100%. Okay? Does it shoot sometimes more like a television show than a movie? Sometimes. But narratively, this is the one that started the franchise. This is the one that got us to the peaks. Whatever your favorite Mission Impossible movie is, this is the one that really started to rev the engines, and it was the palate cleanser. Because this one aged, I think, incredibly well compared to Mission Impossible 2. Because it's all about the character, the story, the stakes, the connection, the mental games. This is the first time we get Benji, I believe, is Mission Impossible 3. You get the full team experience of like all them coming together. You get other personality types that enter the fray that, I mean, just a quick trip to the supermarket turns into life or death situation. I love this movie. It's the emotional weight of Ethan being connected to something that he loves more than being a hero. And I'm all about it. And Philip Seymour Hoffman chews up the screen. It's also got that great mask trick of like them putting on the Philip Seymour Hoffman
Oh,
mask,
yeah.
and then it's actually Philip Seymour Hoffman, and it works out really. It's really
He
good.
has to like read out the thing on the card.
Yeah.
Do the voice mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
I
that
love
was
this
cool.
movie. I adore it. It is my favorite Mission Impossible movie, and to see
I'd argue you can skip the first two and just start with this one.
100%. So Mission Impossible 3 at the number 4 spot, which breaks my heart a little, but it's okay because 3 gets a lot of credit for what's coming next. Of the next 3, go ahead and hit me with what you're going with the third spot.
Going with Fallout for the third one.
Most people
I know.
have this at the top tier of their list.
I'm not as high on Henry Cavill as the villain as a lot of other people are. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman is a better villain, and that's why I said on any given day I think these two could flop. But that being said, I love the Syndicate plot line, and
The Halo jump.
the Halo jump was sick.
Come on.
Yes.
Great.
Great ending to this one as well. I love bringing Julia back into the fold. And this was just one of those movies where I think you really get to, speaking of Mission Impossible 3 that humanizes Ethan, this continues that, and you get to see that, like, his relationship with Julia didn't work out because his commitment to saving the world will always be greater than his commitment to her. And
Brings a tear to my eye.
yeah, and
Good.
Julia understood it too, and they both made peace with it. And man, that's crazy.
That's good stuff. The bathroom fight sequence,
Solid.
I mean, so good. Mm-hmm. There are like several moments in this movie that could have been the big set piece for all the other movies. You know, like when I'm talking about, like, this one's jam-packed with stuff, spectacle.
Oh yeah,
Jam-packed.
the helicopter chase at the end.
The underwater stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The dive into the water spout. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's the official term. But Mission Impossible Fallout is really, really strong. And it was one of those that when you're watching it on screen, you're like, damn, is this just, do these movies just, are they ever going to lose a step? The answer to that is yes.
they do.
But Fallout made you believe for a hot minute that these things just keep getting better, which is where we go with number 2. I'm really shocked because I think I feel very confident where you're going with number 2. I'm shocked that this is ahead of Fallout.
Number 2, I'm going with Rogue Nation, the 5th entry in the franchise. This one is really good. I would put it right. I did put it right up there with Fallout. I preferred the ending to Rogue Nation over the ending to Fallout, which I think helps a lot. I just love the 5-headed play of memorizing a bank ledger, an entire bank ledger, all the account numbers, or at least saying you did. That'd be nuts either way, if that's a bluff to save the day or if he actually did it to save the day and save Benji's life, because he's just sitting there with the explosive jacket on him. Solomon Lane was the villain for this one. I thought he was very menacing.
Yeah, not near as bad as what we got in this buffoon in the last 2 movies.
I agree, 100%. I thought Solomon Lane had like a sort of Unabomber, Zodiac killer kind of feel to him. And, you know, obviously since those are real life situations, we know how that turns out. So I thought it was incredible.
It was very good.
I also like the stuff with the syndicate out to get Ethan Hunt, like at the beginning of the movie where he walks into the record shop. Actually, when I watched that scene, I immediately thought, I bet you Tim likes this way of getting the mission.
I did. I had actually not gotten into record collecting by the time I saw that movie in theaters. But it held up really well in the rewatch because, I'm a big collector of vinyl now. So good stuff there. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation in the number 2 spot. That leads us to number 1, which is probably my second favorite Mission Impossible movie.
What would you have 3 above what I've got?
I would have 3 as my favorite.
Okay.
And I would have this movie, Ghost Protocol, at number 1.
See, I think Ghost Protocol is
Or
perfect.
at number 2.
It is perfect. This is my number 1. If you've heard me talk about it before, then you know where I was going with this list. This one, I think, just has the strongest opening. Even though the opening to Mission Impossible 3 was very tense, the opening to Ghost Protocol is just like, all right, we're getting this franchise back on track. You saw what we did with Part 3. Now we're here to cook. I sat down to watch this after watching 1 through 3, and I got nostalgic for some reason. It's like, man, I just started the rewatch. Like, it's not like a franchise I grew up with, because you've got the Prison Break opening where Benji is the sort of guy in the chair controlling the cameras. So you got a lot of good banter between him and Tom Cruise, with Benji just sort of making sarcastic remarks in the car, and Tom Cruise is just making gestures into the camera, and it's great. Yes, Hunter, Bussy has it in the chat. I was just getting to it. Best opening. After the jailbreak is complete, Tom Cruise and you got this tense, action-packed opening that just makes you go, all right, let's go. I'm ready to watch this movie. Tom Cruise runs up to the tunnel and says, light the fuse. Cue the intro. And that is just such a perfect moment. And I think that when you watch the franchise as a whole, you'll notice that moment, and it just feels like it kicks off the movie and really kicks off this string of Mission Impossible being fantastic movies.
Look, in Rogue Nation, it was all about Tom Cruise hanging on the side of that airplane. In Ghost Protocol, him on the side of that building.
Oh, yeah, him on the Burj Khalifa. It's nuts.
It's insane. I think it may be my favorite stunt in the entire series. And because of that, it would be my second favorite Mission Impossible movie.
And my favorite part of that scene isn't even when he's climbing up. It's when he's got to find a way back down, and he's got the cable, and he gets so close to the window, and Jeremy Renner's character is just like, your line's too short, and then he has a good response to that, and then finds out a way to swing himself in through the window.
His glove getting stuck on the window. I mean, it's just, and then falling off, and you get good Tom Cruise sprinting in this as well. You get that in every mission, really every Tom Cruise movie, but every Mission Impossible movie for sure. But I love Ghost Protocol. You know, we're more similar than different on our list, so I'm cool with that. I just think that the majority of the public has Fallout as their number one, probably of like the height of the franchise. I am actually a Ghost Protocol defender in thinking that it is more of a fun experience than Fallout. So
it's so much fun.
I think
anyone who still has Fallout above it, say go back and watch Ghost Protocol.
So there you go. I'm going to give you Tyler's list one more time. At the number 8 spot, Mission Impossible 2. At number 7, the original Mission Impossible. At number 6, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. At number 5, we start moving into territory where Tyler feels a little bit more optimistic in Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. He gets way more optimistic, a big jump between 5 and 4 at Mission Impossible 3. Mission Impossible Fallout at the number 3 spot, and then Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and then it's the biggest bit of praise he can put on one of these Mission Impossible movies at the number 1 spot, Ghost Protocol. So we would love to hear from you in the comment section of how you would rank the franchise now that we have seen potentially the final one of these. We will see if that ends up being the case. With Hollywood, you never know what they'll decide to do, but we may have seen the actual final Mission Impossible movie with The Final Reckoning. Did you get a chance to see it in theaters this weekend? What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. We appreciate all of you lovely Meltdonians. Don't forget, tomorrow kicks off Mystery Box Madness for us this week. We're looking very forward to that and hope to see you there in the live chat. Don't forget about MyBookie.ag. Use promo code NEXTROUND there for that first-time deposit bonus at MyBookie.ag. And once again, thank you for being a proud Meltdonian and being here in support of the channel. We'd appreciate you hitting that notification bell so you never miss when we go live or post a brand new video for your enjoyment. We'll see you again very soon.